It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, that is Melissa Beata Martin, a senior lecturer and researcher in the Marine Biology program at the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, University of Malaysia, Terengganu. Her interests are in taxonomy, systematics, and aquatic parasitology, with a strong research focus on the biodiversity of freshwater and marine species in Malaysian waters and beyond. As a Hugh Kelly Fellow, she made significant contributions to aquatic biodiversity research through taxonomic revisions and species discoveries. Additionally, Melissa played a very important role in innovative teaching programs at Rhodes University, where she trained undergraduate and postgraduate students in systematics, molecular analysis, and biodiversity conservation. Beyond academia, Dr. Martin is a passionate advocate for citizen science and international collaboration, actively working through UMT, that is University of Malaysia, Terengganu, to bridge research with community engagement. Today, she will share valuable insights from her fellowship experience, demonstrating how research, education, and outreach efforts converge to safeguard aquatic biodiversity. Colleagues, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Melissa Beata Martin. Over to you, Melissa.
Enkosi kakulu nongkoliso. Molueni, my people. How are you guys? I miss you so much. I'm assuming I'm giving some virtual hugs and warmth. So thank you again so much. 2024 has been such an amazing year for me, thanks to the love and support from all of you guys. I bet some of you have been wondering, like you've seen me about going all around. What exactly am I doing? So today, I will be talking about what my work was to the award of the Hugh Kelly Fellowship, thanks to Rhodes University and also for SAIAB for hosting me. And without further ado, I'll get right into it. So my slide contents will cover two parts, mainly about the fellowship that I did with you guys for 10 months, which focuses on three components, which is the teaching, research, and outreach pillars. But I will also look into, where does this go beyond, particularly networkings that hopefully all of you guys can benefit from undergraduates right up to researchers, which also potentially includes postdocs. So a very quick flash about me. I know there's a lot going on here, but just follow through with me. So I did my diploma in fisheries science and a degree in marine biology at this university I'm based in right now, where I'm working. So when I did my work in Australia, it was on taxonomy and systematics. And my subject interest was this little critter here, which is known as the tongue biters. So Nico Smith's team in South Africa is quite renowned for working on these guys as well. So I was working on the Australian region, and that's hence why my interest is more focused onto taxonomy and systematics and also parasitology. So since coming back to Malaysia, I have done some fair bit of consultation work also with EIA. You guys have been, you're familiar with Nansen. So I've been on a somewhat similar like expedition called SEAFDEC, which is the Southeast Asian Fisheries Development Center. And we've done some fair bit of survey as well on commercial species of importance towards the Southeast Asian region. Within our university itself, we actually do have our own research vessel. So this one was a survey done with the whole, that I was involved, which was throughout the whole of Peninsular Malaysia. And because I kind of work on crustaceans, so they've expanded me to looking into benthic species as well. When I'm not in the field, I'm also working with the collections. So it's not as big as you guys, but we do have at least about to date 100,000 specimens, which are predominantly marine. And also it focuses a fair bit on fishes because of the contributions of the researchers that are available. So On a national level, I am fairly active with the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, which with you guys is equivalent to the South African Young Academy of Science. So we have done a fair bit of collaborative work, mainly online. And so one of my works are towards contribution to science communication and leadership as well. And some of our work also involves community work, be it through the university or nationally through the Academy of Science Malaysia. So like how you guys have ESCOM, we have our National Science Challenge as well. So this is me being the quiz master towards the finalists. We had 5 finalists. And I do a fair bit of teaching as well, as you know, but our cohorts can go up to 70 to 80 students. And what we also do is we engage our students with the community. So essentially, I work on these 3 pillars: research, teaching, and outreach. That is what I do. So hence, the fellowship actually entailed me to do just that, but in the South African region. So my work, again, for teaching focused more to taxonomy and systematics, but also focusing on research, but this time rather than marine, focus a bit more on freshwater, and then really also engaging with the community. So from the 10 months overview, I'll give you a brief surface understanding of what I did. So there's 2 particular programs I did under the teaching component, 4 parts towards the research, and 3 parts towards outreach, which I will fill you in right now. So now looking into the chapter for teaching, with the undergraduates, our aims here was to develop advanced knowledge, more particularly with the taxonomy and systematics part, and also to enhance practical skills. So some of the feedback that I did get was, I must admit, in terms of the syllabus for the theoretical aspect is actually very strong, but in terms of hands-on, probably not as much incorporated. So this is a component which I felt was very crucial for the students to understand, to get some fundamentals before they see a holistic picture of the whole conservation aspect. So brought it into aspect molecular and also the essential taxonomic work. And then we did also incorporate a lot of critical thinking by bringing case studies. So in terms of our deliverables, before I go in, shout out to Yonella and Tadiwa and Gwyneth and also Albert for helping me out, particularly with case studies. So this whole program for the undergraduates ran for a whole 4 weeks, of which the first was teaching them the fundamentals. The second part of this work also taught them the importance of natural history museums and looking into it basically as your library of, archival specimens. So we did engage in a fair bit of work, of which the students had to ID. Some of them obviously did that, but I think what they really enjoyed was the molecular side. So thank you, Gwyneth, Tadiwa, and Yonella for helping me with this practical side of their work. I think they really did enjoy it. We also ensured that SAIAB collections, thanks heads out to Nati, Kolisa, and the whole team for helping me out with the specimens. So the students actually got hands-on understanding of, not just any teaching material, but understanding collections, the whole registration number, why is it important to that, and looking into the 2 main books, which is because we're working on fishes, we were looking on skeletons work and also hamsters. So that's the fair bit of hands-on that they got from this. I also wanted to engage with them in a concept which we do here in Malaysia, I mean, at least for our university, which is called classroom industry. So other than just having a seminar, every subject coordinator is required to engage with somebody from the industry. I use the term industry very loosely here because it can also incorporate academicians. But essentially, the students have to understand when they're being taught a subject, how is this relevant to the industry once they start working? So in this case, I actually invited Dr. Neng Ting Kueh, she's actually from Malaysia, but she was working in the Singapore Museum, which is the Ling Kong Chian Natural History Museum for a while. So the students got an idea of, other than the South African region, what is available out there. And so she gave a talk on the importance of that collections and how it was related to even aspects of climate change, and even understanding ocean acidification. Following on with the honor students, the concept is quite similar to what we did for the undergraduates, but a little bit more intense and shorter. So with the honors, what we did was it was done for 5 days, which in the morning we had a theoretical session of about 2 hours, of which later the practical session engaged them with having to do fish identification and also dichotomous keys. So what we actually did was we designed it in such a way that once they understood the fundamentals of identification, if they were presented with a specimen which doesn't key out, so they would actually have to create their own key based on understandings of morphological features, and of which later they actually had to write up a manuscript. So I'm actually very proud of these guys, because obviously with writing a journal, it takes really long. So the fact that they could actually get just the fundamentals right with having a manuscript done within 5 days is actually quite remarkable. And there is very much a potential for these guys to really full on focus on taxonomy. So that is the teaching component done. And I basically now want to go into the research component. So what we did was, Okay, so for this first part of the program, I did a lot of work together with Albert's team and also with Wilbert. Also shout out to Martinez and Savan and also to Gavin Gauss. So essentially what we were doing is a lot of taxonomic revision. So within that year itself, we managed to revalidate Enteromius carcensis, which was part of the Enteromius anoplus complex, also known as the chubby head species complex. So we revalidated this species of the KwaZulu-Natal region. The second part of this project that we did was looking into the Amatola cypress species, or also known as the border barb species. So essentially the Strixtans Amatolus trevelyanii was from the buffaloes. But what we also found, there was a separate lineage from the Kiskama river system. The third aspect we were looking at was the Burchellii complex, Pseudobarbus burchellii, or the red-finned minnows. So what we found essentially of the results from our work was that the Strixans is actually from the Trudeau, and then we revalidated a species of Pseudobarbus vulnerata from the Breed River system, and we also described a new species actually coming from the Henningness River system. And another one that we did work on was having to understand the genetic differences of the freshwater crab of the Potamonatus danielsi from the orange greatfish Sundays water interbasin river systems, interbasins. And we actually did find that they are separate populations without the influence of hybridization. Moving on to the second program, we actually have, actually this is more of an accidental but opportunistic advantage to me. So I actually did get to work with a team of Peter, and what happened here was that there was an expedition that was done, if I'm not mistaken, in 2023, but following up from that expedition from the Nansen project, the team within the African region actually came into SAIAB to learn about taxonomic publication, and this is how the workshop was set about. So for this one, shout out to Offer and Roger for giving me this opportunity to actually engage. So one of the components that we had during this workshop was the manuscript writing, of which I did this together with Offer. And although this is not very specifically done, but we also did do a little bit of illustrations with the microscope. And so hopefully in the next time I do get to come in, we can actually do a proper workshop of how we can actually use to draw with a microscope and then actually having to digitize it. In my case, I actually got to work with Sarah, who is an expert on elasmobranch. And together with a team, we worked with a Tanzanian and a Mozambican, which is Stella and Matthew. And from their works, shout out to them, Matthew described a new species from a blind electric ray, whereas for Stella, she actually found a new record of a torpedo ray within the Indian Ocean, more specifically from Mozambique. Moving on to the third program, of which I did was involved with the Indaba Wetlands Conference and Workshop. So from this work, from the Anopolis complex for the Enteromeus and Carcensis, I presented that work there. But we also had the opportunity to actually engage with the community as in a field work of native species and also endangered species in the Chrome River system. And shout out to this wonderful lady who gave me some insights of how to work, of what inputs I can give with the Enteromeus carcensis species. And engaging with the community there, especially for all the presenters there, was actually an amazing engagement. This program, which is still ongoing and it essentially can go up to few years down the road, is the project Mud Crab. So I would like to fill you in a little bit as to what it is here. So globally, there are 4 known mud crab species, of which you guys within the South African region have the biggest, which is Scylla serrata. So if you see this global map here, you can see that it occurs a fair bit here. But within where I come from, the Southeast Asian region, we only have the 3 other species, all right? So, and looking at GBIF, there's actually a fair bit of species here that is known to occur. And potentially, we want to be able to develop the aquaculture and fisheries and the socioeconomic aspects of this mud crab species. So stay tuned. This work is a collaborative work with William from DFFE. So if you guys want to know anything further about this, you can ask him about this. But this essentially came out from just a coffee session with another one of my colleagues. His name is Dr. Ko Waiho. He is an expert on mud crabs. So stay tuned because he will be giving a talk on this species and the potentials of either collaborations or developing this industry come May. So stay tuned for this one. And then moving on into community engagement. I know I'm running short of time, so I'll try to skim through. So one of the works that I was engaged with together with Tadiwa was the ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists in Makanda. And coming from a background where my portfolio is also on promoting my program, I think this is wonderful that this work is being done towards developing STEM education and for SAIAB and DIFs to show that significance within the whole ESCOM Expo. And and this is quite interesting that I was also sort of in the news a little bit, but not holistically, but part of it, which is actually kind of a nice, memorable thing for me. So thank you to SABC News. And then coming to this part, the Great Southern BioBlitz, perhaps all of you are more familiar with this engagement of awareness using iNaturalist. Quite frankly, for the Malaysian region is not as big and expansive as how you guys do it. So this was actually an interesting work experience for me, which I get to do also with Tadiwa and Martinez. And this is something that is a component that I will be introducing in my next teaching component actually, so that students actually do get to have a feel of understanding what is within their environment. And last but not least, for my third program, shout out to Toloana and team for conducting the whole SAIAB Student Symposium. I had the privilege of actually introducing one of the speakers, and I really love this whole concept of where everything was not just academia based, but actually exploring potentials of non-academicians actually making out to safeguard Africa's aquatic future. Every person has a form of role in engaging with the community and developing sustainable aspects of the fisheries aquaculture of Africa. So thank you very much for that opportunity. I love reading a lot of your abstracts, and I think you guys did a wonderful presentation for those who did present during the symposium. So that was pretty much my gist and the overview of what I did. Handful. So now for you guys, like, okay, so how is this relatable to you, or what does the future hold for you? I really want to draw your attention to this, but before I go to that, probably I'm not disregarding in terms of your understanding of where Malaysia is, but some of you guys mixed me up with Malawi and Madagascar, so I want to clear this out. This is where you guys are, and this is where I am. So we don't even have the same climates. Ours is full on summer, and not only is it hot, it's humid. You guys, to some extent, I am jealous of you guys having winter. But yeah, otherwise it's really hot and humid, and we're actually quite close to the equator. So more specifically within Malaysia, so if you see, it's actually, Malaysia is in two parts. So I come from Peninsular Malaysia, and more specifically, I am in the East Coast, where our playground is the South China Sea. So we have both private and government universities, though if you look in the QR rankings, we may not be one of the highest in terms of research universities, because we also cater to, our stakeholders are actually also students technically. So a lot goes into teaching, but when it comes to having the niche university, touchdown, it's UMT is the pioneer when it comes to aquatic studies. All right. So literally our campus is by the beach. We are only 218 acres. And if you do check out the website, they actually has an overview of a virtual aspect of how our campus looks like. Very brief run through. We only have about 740 permanent and non-permanent staff. And also the backbone is about this many staffs. But I also want to draw to your attention that this is the many students that we have. So now you can understand why each course can come up to about 70 or 80 students. And we do have a fair bit of international students as well. So some are self-funded, some have some form of funding outside, but some can also come through matching grants. Okay. And then drawing your attention to the faculties and research that we have here. We have 6 different faculties, but I want to draw your attention here for the research institutes, because I want you guys to see our relevance here, how, it's sort of a mix of SAIAB and DIFs here. So if you would see, we have the Institute of Oceanography and Environment. So, and this is actually our research vessel. So the first picture that I showed about the future directions, that is actually our research vessel. We also have the Institute of Tropical and Aquaculture and Fisheries. So for those who are interested in doing aquaculture work, we have a fair bit of crustaceans that we work on sea cucumbers, or on crustaceans, corals, the works. We also have an Institute for Tropical Biodiversity and Sustainable Development. So for those who are keen onto freshwater studies, this will be the place to be. And we've recently also opened up this, it's fairly new in comparison to the other institutes, which is the Institute of Climate Adaptation and Marine Biotechnology. So these are some of the potential areas that one can venture into. And all right, so what are the potential collaborations that we could have together? For the undergraduates, okay, why I've put this as green are things that are already available and can be tapped into, but the ones that is in this dirty orange is something that we can explore potentially. So we have this thing called massive open access courses. If you have heard of Coursera, it pretty much works the same system, where you can actually enroll in our courses online, and a lot of it is for free. So, but if you really want to have a feel of the Malaysian weather, the food, the culture, you can take up some of our undergraduate courses. For the postgraduates, we have various master courses, and it's different modes, A, B, and C. So A is essentially full-on coursework of 2 years. B is half coursework, half honors, and C is full-on research. We have the Tropimundo program as well. I am not directly involved with it. I have seen a fair bit of students coming in, and I believe Francesca, sorry if I'm putting you in the spot, but I have noticed that Tropimundo advert on your door. So perhaps if students are curious to know about the Tropimundo, you can ask Francesca more specifically. But we do actually cater to Tropimundo as well. And for researchers, right now we do have a fair bit of honorary researchers. We have to enlist you inside our system, but it has a fair bit of criteria that we look at before enrolling you guys in as an honorary researcher, because to the best of my knowledge, one does get paid, but also it depends on the availability of funds and the potential of supervising postgraduates, and definitely as external examining panels. But we can also look into matching grants and matching expertise. So what do we have here? We have 34 undergraduate programs. And if you can see based on the title itself, you can see how we are very much related, which is science and marine environment, ocean engineering technology, fisheries and food science, and maritime studies, okay? So I can't speak very holistically for all, because I am part of the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, and more specifically for marine biology. So I can speak about that more detail if anyone is curious, but I can also help you out if anybody's curious for the other programs. If you need to know as internationals, undergraduate or postgraduates, you can actually visit our website. There is actually like a module and a guide of what are the courses offered and how sort of the step-by-step guide of how you can potentially work here. Again, as I mentioned, if you don't have the means to support, but you are interested in seeing what courses we have available, you can enroll into UMT MOOC, again, which is our university and massive open online courses. So this is one course that I have, again, for taxonomy and systematics. Don't be deterred by the number of students, 49 students, because this just came out in 2023. So I had my first cohort to do this online. But then when I came over to South Africa, I didn't put this course up available. But as of now onwards, if you're interested in enrolling, please check it out. It's for free. And Tropimondo, what is Tropimondo? Is an EU-funded Erasmus Mundus joint program, which looks into tropical biodiversity and ecosystems. So this is the cohort of 2024. This YouTube is available also again on our website. You can check it out. It's a 2-year master's degree program which looks into botany, zoology, ecosystem dynamics, yada yada. So what within that year, I've noticed that students take up a course and they visit all of the research sites within our university. So from going to mangroves, going to the islands, going to the freshwater lakes, etc. And within the second year, you're supposed to have an idea of what project you want to do and sort of having a potential supervisor in mind, because in the end, that's the report that you have to give back to Tropimondo. So these are some of the student exchanges that we have. But again, if you notice, South America and Africa is not part of that yet. It really depends on the strength of things like MOUs and MOAs. And pretty much these are the facilities that we have and can cater to. Again, pointing it out there that these are some of the current MOUs and MOAs that we have. It will be nice to have one with you guys, but really it's initiating that talk at some stage. So really that is all it for my talk. I thank you all so much for being here and supporting me today. I do really hope to see, this thing not ending ever, and essentially that we can, network in some way or other. So shout out to all who have helped me out, to DIFS for the Hugh Kelly Fellowship, to SAIAB for hosting me and being such wonderful people, and thank you once again. Over to you, Nonkuliso.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for your presentation. It was very insightful and engaging. I enjoyed it. I think everyone enjoyed it. So it's time for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask Melissa. She will answer, or you can just write in our chats. Any questions or comments?
For some who have mentioned here in the chats, thanks again for Francesca. Thanks Nobule as well for appreciating my presentation. I think it's fairly straightforward and it's easy. Especially like maybe I just want to highlight a little bit then, since I don't have questions just yet. We are looking into examiners. But thank you, Luando. That we are looking into engaging with more examiners, potential examiners, because the thing with our system here is that we don't want to be biased. We don't obviously take on researchers where we've done papers, publications with, so it has to be outside of that norm. So we are looking into enlisting. So I have put forth to my head of department that I will be engaging some of you guys to actually help with examining, and hopefully to also be honorary researcher. Maybe I can also add on a little bit with internships and how it works. So internships is actually very different in comparison to how the Malaysians do it. As interns, it is part of a whole semester within the bachelor's course. Whereas for you guys, you have your bachelor's program and then boom, you have the honors, which is separate, and then you have internships, which are separate. But in our case, this is the sad part, internships don't get paid. but because it's a course, so technically we want to be able to assess whether the student is able to incorporate whatever they've learned in our course to the industry. We also do, as supervisors here, we also do check out supervisors of the industry to see if it's worthwhile sending on students, etc. And the idea of this is essentially if both students and the supervisor intern is happy with their work, they get absorbed into the system immediately. So that is the added advantage to doing a course like this, because you want to be able to show that our courses has high employability rate. So that's what we do different. Also, within the honors program, it is already incorporated in the bachelor's program. So technically, within the third year, which is incorporates 2 semesters, you will also be doing your honors in that third year. So it is a little bit heavy, but that's why our work actually is accredited. We do get Harriet Ward to actually audit our whole program, not just the syllabus in itself. And we do have other outsiders, because we do actually make, we have to make comparisons of our program within the Malaysian region and also overseas as well, so that we are at par with the rest. So that's one thing different. I probably have a message here from Vanessa. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, so much energy. Thanks for your collabs. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Noko. Is the internship recognized as the experience? Okay, so basically, in the bachelor's transcript, where you have all the semesters and what courses you took. So in that semester, particularly, at least for our program, we have 3.5 years. So that 7th semester, it will be listed as an intern and you are graded for that. So in that sense, yes, it is recognized. And because, as I said, mentioned, the supervision happens both within the university lecturers with the industry. So imagine all 80 students running that program at the same time. So we have about 11 staff within the program, within this marine biology program. So each one, typically, sometimes we send it out by state. So like I come from Selangor. So if there are about 5-6 interns within the Selangor region, I will actually monitor them. I will actually have a talk with the supervisors. Then I will actually have a talk with the students, like, are they happy? Are they being bullied? That kind of thing. So maybe the supervisors might have a selling point like, oh, they're doing some wonderful work. But then the students say like, oh, no, I'm really not learning much from this. So their feedback is very important in that sense. So I hope I've answered you, Noku. From Dina, great presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dina. I appreciate that. Are there any plans to continue some of the programs you introduced to honors and undergrad classes? For example, bringing people from the industry for the modeling sessions. Potentially, Dina, that can work out. I guess, I mean, in the case, like if Wilbert or Albert would like for me to engage with this, or not necessarily just Wilbert and Albert, if anybody else actually does see that and you would like me, at least if it's not feasible to do it physically, or what programs can we do online, like the MOOC that I have online, that can be done. And for example, bringing people from the industry. Yes, definitely. So as I mentioned, because we have a whole listing of people from the industries, and we also do engage with other programs to see what industries they have, we can potentially do that. So if you really want to know, like, hey, I'm interested in working with these people, so that can be done. So even if it's not me, if you guys are inspired to do like a classroom industry, that I think will be so helpful, because I've also heard feedback from you guys saying that, you know, the moment that you go out of your bachelor's program, what do you do next? You know, you don't want to have that sense of feeling lost. So this is the time where, I mean, with coordinators, it's so important to help bridge that gap, like, you know, because you know people from industry, so let them have a talk within one of your subjects. It's not much, but it's so easy then to see that relevance, like, okay, if I do this, this is how I can relate to that. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone who attended. We can't wait to see you again. Probably.
I can't wait to see you guys again as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Enkosi kakulu. So is this a wrap?